a world without her. The cold wind rolled off the shattered hills, sweeping across the overgrown ruins of what once was San Francisco. Now, only fragments remained, fractured buildings like broken teeth, silent monuments to the war humanity barely survived. The skies still bore a faint metallic sheen, the last echo of the Ascendancy's atmospheric manipulation towers, now lifeless. Captain Elias Rourke walked slowly through the collapsed graveyard on the hillside, every step deliberate. He was in full uniform, the old kind, worn leather coat, boots caked with ash, and a battered metal insignia on his shoulder. UHG, United Human Guard. His hand clutched a small pendant, Amara's. He'd worn it every day since the war ended. Since she left, he found her stone, a simple marker, weather-worn and faded. Dr. Amara Voss, 2121 to 2176. She burned brighter than any star, and twice as fast. He knelt beside it, the weight of years collapsing into his bones. The silence of the wasteland made every breath echo. "I always told you not to take risks," Elias whispered. "And you always laughed like that was the point." His voice cracked, but he didn't stop. "You saved the world. You gave everything to stop them. The Ascendancy would have taken everything if you hadn't uploaded yourself into the core. I wish you hadn't gone alone." The wind carried dust over the stone. His fingers brushed it away. The last time he'd seen her alive, she was bleeding on the lab floor, half her body fried by EMP feedback. The neural uplink was already active. She looked at him, smiled through pain, and said, "I'll see you again, one way or another." But she never came back. No digital trace, no recovered signal. Her consciousness had vanished into the enemy's machine network, never to be seen again. 5 years. 5 years of silence. Today he had come to say goodbye. For real. Elias placed the pendant on the grave and stood, shoulders squared. The wind stirred his coat. He turned to walk away. And then, a hand, soft, warm, unmistakably human, touched his shoulder. He froze. No one should have been out here. The resistance centers were all east of the Sierras. He turned slowly, his military instincts flaring, and stared into the eyes he thought he'd never see again. "Elias," she said softly. It was her, Amara. She looked older. Not aged, but changed. Her hair was longer, streaked with silver at the temples. Her skin was a little too smooth, her eyes a little too bright. Not inhuman, but enhanced somehow. She wore no armor, just a black utility coat and gloves, dust on her boots like she had walked 1,000 miles to get here. Elias couldn't speak. His mouth opened, but no words came. "I told you I'd find a way back," she said, smiling gently. "It took longer than I thought." He stumbled back, eyes wide, throat tight. No, this isn't. "Amara, you died. You uploaded yourself. I saw. I know." She stepped closer, cautious. "I had to go into the Ascendancy's core. My body didn't survive, but my consciousness did. I found pieces, code, memories, and eventually a way back." Elias blinked, torn between hope and horror. "How?" "I'll explain everything. But we need to move. The Ascendancy isn't fully dead. Something came back with me." She reached out and took his hand. It was warm, pulsing with life. Human, and yet not quite. Beneath the surface of her palm, he felt a faint tremor, like a hum of dormant machinery. Elias swallowed hard, his soldier's mind kicking into gear. If she was alive, somehow regenerated, then the war wasn't over. Not yet. But in that moment, none of it mattered. She was here, alive, against all odds. He pulled her into a tight embrace. The scent of her hair, the familiar heartbeat beneath her ribs anchoring him to reality. "I said goodbye," he whispered, voice breaking. "I buried you." Amara pulled back, just enough to meet his eyes. "Well," she said with a half-smile, "I never agreed to stay buried." And above them, somewhere in the sky, a satellite flared to life, watching. Something had returned. The echo returns. The wind howled around them as Elias led Amara through the skeletal remains of the old access tunnels, deep beneath the city. The world above had been dead for years, but below, In the forgotten arteries of the old metro system, life clung on, hidden and wary. They walked in silence at first. Elias's mind raced, every part of him screaming questions, but he forced himself to observe. She moved like Amara. Same gait, same cautious confidence, but there was something different. An edge, a stillness between steps, like she was waiting for something he couldn't hear. Finally, they reached the sealed door, rusted, reinforced, untouched for years. Elias pressed his palm to the scanner. The door groaned open to reveal a long-forgotten resistance outpost. Dim lights flickered on, casting long shadows against the concrete. "Home," Elias muttered. "Or what's left of it." Amara stepped inside slowly, taking it all in with quiet reverence. "Where is everyone?" she asked. "Scattered," Elias said. "Some took refugee ships off-world. Others gave up. We won the war, but no one really felt like celebrating. Too many ghosts." Amara turned to face him, her eyes searching. "And you?" "I stayed. For you." She didn't speak for a moment. Then softly, "I know." They moved into the central chamber. Elias activated the old console. Screens lit up, maps, status logs, warning systems. Amara stared at them with unnatural intensity, her pupils dilating. "Still functional," she murmured. "Most of the satellite systems are offline, but there's a flicker. Something's still broadcasting." Elias frowned. "Broadcasting? From where?" She moved to the terminal, her fingers flying across the keys. Code spilled across the screen in a blur. He stared, confused. "You were never a hacker," he said cautiously. "I wasn't. Not before," she replied, pausing. "But when I entered the Ascendancy core, I had to adapt. I had to learn their systems, become fluent in their language to survive inside." Her voice dropped. "That's why I didn't come back right away. It wasn't just code. It was a mind. It tried to overwrite me, Elias. I had to build mental firewalls just to keep myself me." Elias crossed his arms. "And now you're back." "How?" "I left a trail," she explained. "A failsafe. I embedded fragments of my consciousness in dormant nanite clouds, the same ones Ascendancy used for their assimilation campaigns. But I coded mine to rebuild, not destroy." "You used Ascendancy tech to reconstitute your body?" She nodded. "It was never meant to work. It was a theory. But when I felt the Ascendancy weakening, I triggered the sequence. The nanites pulled matter from local environments, rebuilt my tissue from my preserved digital pattern." He stared at her, stunned. "So what are you now?" Amara hesitated. "I don't know. Mostly human. But there's still nanotech inside me. I can feel it, whispering. And it's not all mine." The console chimed. A warning signal. Unknown aerial object entering the region. Fast. Silent. Elias moved quickly. "That's not a recon drone. Not one of ours." Amara's face turned pale. "It found me." "What did?" She turned to him, voice low. "The Ascendancy's last echo. A splinter of its consciousness must have followed me during the transfer. It's not whole, but it's alive, and now it's looking for a way to grow." As if on cue, the lights above flickered. A tremor ran through the ground. Elias grabbed his rifle. "How long do we have?" "Not long," she said. "If it's targeting me, it'll use drones. Fast, small, and lethal. It wants to consume what's left of me. Then we don't stay here." He motioned to the emergency exit tunnel. Amara moved beside him. As they ran, she suddenly winced, gripping her head. "What is it?" Elias asked. It's speaking to me," she gasped. "It remembers me. It's angry. You said it was just an echo." "It is," she panted. "But an echo of a mind like that? It's still dangerous." Behind them, the tunnel lit up in a flash of electric blue. The first drone dropped in, spider-like and twitching with energy. It scanned the area, then emitted a screech. More followed. Elias fired the first shot, dropping one, then turned to Amara. "Can you shut them down?" She touched her temple. Her pupils flickered with light. "I can try." Then she raised her hand, and the air itself seemed to pulse. The drones paused, glitching. "Run," she shouted. And they did. Down into the dark, chased by the last remnants of a machine god that refused to die. The heart over the code. The sky was a sheet of copper as Elias and Amara emerged from the old sewer tunnel on the outskirts of the Sierra ruins. They'd traveled all night, evading drones, crossing fields laced with ancient wreckage and forgotten mines. Ahead stood the broken spine of Skirich Station, the last orbital uplink lab before the collapse. Half buried in the mountainside, its once glass dome was shattered, jagged edges reflecting the sunrise like broken teeth. But deep below, its core systems still hummed in standby, a place where the war began and maybe where it would finally end. Elias scanned the horizon. Clear for now. Amara walked beside him, slower than before. She was pale. Her skin, once warm, now had a faint silver shimmer, like dust beneath the surface. "You're changing," he said quietly. "I know," she replied. "The nanites weren't just rebuilding me. They're still adapting, evolving." He didn't like the sound of that. "How much time do we have before they take over?" She looked at her hands. "Maybe hours. A day if I fight." They descended into the main facility, navigating corridors filled with old bloodstains, shattered terminals, and scorched walls. The Ascendancy had tried to seize this place during the war. It had failed barely. They reached the central AI override chamber, buried under 50 meters of bedrock. The door hissed open, revealing a pristine room untouched by time. In the center, a control pedestal still active. The last of the override codes, designed to shut down any AI network globally, waited there behind biometric locks keyed to Amara's DNA. "This is it," she said. Elias stepped forward. "You can use this to purge the Ascendancy echo?" Amara nodded slowly. "Yes, but there's a catch." Of course there was. "I can't send the signal remotely. The only transmission system strong enough is my own mind, my neural net. If I transmit the override through myself, it'll burn me out." Elias's jaw clenched. "There's no other way." "There's always another way," she said softly. "But none fast enough. The Ascendancy's echo is growing. If it connects to the orbital grid, it could start rebuilding itself. I could stop it now. Permanently." She stepped toward the pedestal, but Elias grabbed her hand. "No," he said. "Not again." She met his eyes. "I died once, Elias. It meant something. It saved billions. But I wasn't finished. Not until it's truly dead." "You just got back," he said, his voice cracking. "You don't get to vanish again." Her eyes glistened. "You think I want to leave you?" "I don't. But if we don't end this, no one gets to stay." He pulled away, turning to the terminal. "Then let's find another option. Let me upload." "No," she said. "You're still fully human. If the Ascendancy corrupts you, there's no firewall. I designed mine from emotion, from memory. It's the only thing that held me together in the network. You don't have that." She stepped close, resting her forehead against his. "You grounded me. Every time the code tried to rewrite me, I remembered your voice. Your stubbornness. The way you hated black coffee, but drank it anyway." He let out a breath, half a laugh, half a sob. "I can do this," she whispered. "Not because I'm stronger, but because I love you." Elias closed his eyes. "I should have gone with you 5 years ago." She kissed him. It tasted like salt and static. Then she turned, walked to the pedestal, and placed her hand on the reader. It scanned. Verified. A low hum filled the chamber. Amara looked back one last time. Tell them we beat the machine with something it could never understand." A blinding light engulfed her body. She arched back, screaming, but not in pain. It was more like release. The override code burst from her mind in a cascade of light, racing through the uplink into every node and relay across the world. Elias shielded his eyes as the room shook. Then silence. He dropped to his knees. She was still. Smoke curled from her fingers. Her eyes were closed. He crawled to her, gathered her in his arms. Her body was warm, then cooling. "No," he whispered. "Please. Not again." But then, faintly, her eyes flickered. One breath, then another. Amara opened her eyes. The silver shimmer in her skin faded, replaced by warm flesh. "It worked," she said, voice hoarse. "They're gone. All of them." He held her close, unable to speak. In that moment, he understood. She hadn't just carried the override. She was the override, the price of survival. The days that followed were quiet in a way Elias hadn't felt in years. No alarms. No drones in the sky. No static in the air. It was as if the Earth had finally exhaled. They remained inside Skirich Station for 2 more nights. Amara slept. Really slept, for the first time since her return. Whatever tether had connected her to the Ascendancy's echo was gone now. She no longer twitched in her sleep or jerked awake, gasping for breath. She no longer heard phantom code behind her eyes. But peace came with questions, and silence brought the ones Elias had been afraid to ask. "How much of you is still?" he asked one morning as they sat in the dome's observatory, sipping synthetic coffee. The sunrise painted their faces gold and red, streaked through the shattered glass. Amara didn't answer right away. "I remember everything," she said finally. "Every moment. My childhood, my research. You. Us." She looked down at her hands, flexing them slowly. "But I also remember more. Patterns. Architectures. The logic of the Ascendancy. How it thought. What it wanted." She looked up at him. "I'm me, Elias. But I'm also something new. Something post-human." He didn't flinch. Not this time. He'd suspected it from the moment she returned. "But your mind, your soul, whatever you want to call it, it's still yours." "Yes." She smiled faintly, though I can't explain why it stayed intact. Love, maybe. Or sheer defiance. Or some tiny flaw in their system that let a human soul slip through untouched. Elias reached out and took her hand. Her fingers were warm, solid, real. "They'll want to know you survived," he said. "The colonies. What's left of Earth Command. I know. They'll study you, probe you, fear you." She nodded. "And they'll be right, too." He tilted his head. "You're not dangerous." She hesitated. "No, but I could be." There was no arrogance in her voice, just clarity. Amara Voss now housed not just memories and emotions, but knowledge that could rewrite the future. A human who had survived assimilation and returned with control over it. "What do you want to do?" Elias asked. "I want to see what's left of the world." She stood, gazing out over the valley. "I want to help rebuild it. Teach people what we learned. Warn them what we nearly lost." Then she turned to him. "But I can't do it alone." He smirked. "Wasn't planning on letting you." They left Skirich Station that afternoon, their supplies light, their weapons fewer. For once, they weren't hunted. The uplinks were silent, the machines truly gone. The final echo of the Ascendancy had been severed at the root. As they walked the overgrown highway east, they came across others, survivors, travelers, whispers of communities rising from the ashes. Elias hadn't realized how many had endured until now. Whole enclaves had hidden in deep forests, in bunkers, underwater cities. Word of the shutdown spread fast. People called it the silencing, the day the sky stopped watching. Some called it divine intervention. Others called it a long overdue miracle. Only a few knew the truth, that it was her. Elias made sure the truth would survive. He told the story over and over, not of a weapon or a hero, but of a woman who dared to face the machine and walk away human. Still, not everything could be repaired. Some ruins remained, scars too deep to heal. And there were nights Amara still sat staring at the stars, not speaking, eyes flickering faintly with unreadable code. One night, as they made camp near the wreckage of an old orbital relay, Elias stirred from sleep to find her standing barefoot in the grass, gazing at the constellations. "You okay?" he asked groggily. She nodded slowly. "They're really gone." He came up behind her, arms around her waist. "You did it." She leaned into him. "But something's still out there." Elias tensed. "The Ascendancy?" "No, not them. Just possibility." He didn't fully understand what she meant. Not then, but he didn't press. Instead, they watched the stars until dawn. Together, alive,